Hi, welcome to episode 59 of the podcast. On today's episode, I will be continuing the research topics and I will be talking about guerrilla research, what it is, when you can or when you shouldn't use it, and how you can actually start using guerrilla methods in your research or product development process. Let's get into it. So what is guerrilla research? Guerrilla research is a quick, low-cost way of learning about and understanding experiences. Usually you would do it in a public space. There's usually not like a rigorous recruitment process. Like you don't have to sit down and plan for who you talk to, the audience profile and all of those things. Although there is some planning required, you can't just go into the wild and just asking people questions. You have to plan what you want to do. And why guerrilla research is helpful is it's a very low cost, quick way of getting some insights to show the value of research with minimal investments. And it can be done online, it can be done offline, it can be done in one day, it can be done in 10-minute sessions, and it's an easier sell to your team than a full-scale research program, especially if they're still hesitant and skeptical about the value of research. Maybe they think it takes too much time or they can just move ahead. So yeah, when should you use guerrilla research? This is very appropriate when you have for exploring. Really, it's more like for exploration, not like you're going to hinge every decision you make on the insights from guerrilla research. And it's just you get insights from people in a specific place about a random topic. And if you're doing this online, you can do it with you've seen it probably with in-app surveys or pop-up surveys. So when you use a feature, maybe they change something in an app that you use and you use that new feature. Some of them might show you a small survey that's how satisfied are you with this feature or something like that. So they can ask you those kinds of questions. If you are running a conference or an event, at the end of the conference, you can just ask people for a short survey as you're leaving, and you can even do interviews with them as they through the course of the conference or the event. So that's also a guerrilla approach. And so you can then use these insights as they're exploratory insights, right? And so you use them to go into broader or larger foundational research projects. It can give you, even for surveys, right? You can get insights as to what kind of options you can include in your survey questions. One other place that guerrilla research is helpful is for testing product concepts at any level. So whether it's a paper sketch that you make on some sheets of paper, or you draw on your tab or whatever, to very high level, high fidelity mockups can be a Figma file that is really high fidelity, or even a demo website or a live website. Even you can use it to test quick tests at all levels of all stages of development. In this case, you want to keep it very limited. You're not trying to test your whole website. You're trying to test specific parts of it, or you're not trying to test a huge paper prototype, right? So you're testing a particular feature or task flow or something quick that can be done in short bursts of time. Guerrilla research is not appropriate in every context. It is flexible. It is a good, low-cost, quick, easy win, but it doesn't work in all cases. So guerrilla research may not be appropriate for when you're doing research around sensitive topics, because you're literally going to meet strangers on the road and they may not want to talk to you about their sex life or their financial habits or their health situation. It's also not appropriate when you want to talk to experts in a field where you need domain knowledge. So maybe you want to build a solution that supports therapists. You can't just go on the road and be me trying to find therapists. Your chances are probably higher, except maybe you go to a therapy practice and stand outside there and wait, I guess. I don't know. But if it's a specialized field or where you need domain knowledge, then maybe you shouldn't do guerrilla research. You don't want to go to somebody in a mall or a coffee shop and just be how is your sex life? That is weird, right? Or what do you look for when you're trying to buy something. Like don't yeah, sensitive topics don't work with guerrilla research because you need to establish like comfort, build rapport, do all those kinds of things, which are much harder to do in like a 10-15 minute conversation. So how do you then conduct guerrilla research? First, like with every research project you need to do, when you want to do guerrilla research, you need to plan for it. You need to define who your participants are. You need to have some kind of screener depending on the topic that you're trying to research. And you need to have like a guide for what kind of questions you want to ask, what topics you want to cover. Then you need to choose your location, and I will talk more about each part of this in detail now. So when you plan, you need to think about your goal. What do you want to do? So in the one of the times where I did that, the goal was to assess the usability of Nigerian newspaper websites. So I picked a bunch of Nigerian newspapers that had a website, and also had print versions. And so I looked at like what are the most important features of a newspaper website. This was like way back in like 2016 or 17. And so initially I was going to do both desktop and mobile tests, but then after doing some research I saw that like most people said that they read the news mostly on their phone, so it's like it makes sense to do the guerrilla test on the phone. So that was the goal and the planning side. Now, in defining the participants, I wanted to talk to people who already read the news online. And I didn't really care about gender or age, but I wanted to talk to people like across ages and genders. And it wasn't the priority. The priority was for people who read the news online. And for another example could be if you want to work on a study app for like law school students, then your participant criteria will probably be like people who are currently in law school, obviously. And if it's an app you want to test, then you will want to test with people who use a smartphone, most likely, because those are people who can use an app, right? So that's how you define who you want to talk to. And with guerrilla research, you're not too like, again, you don't want to do an audience that's too narrow. So that's why like testing usability of newspaper websites or news sites was easy because it's not a narrow audience. Lots of people read the news on their phone. So for the newspaper websites usability project that I was working on, my first screener question was around how often they read the news online. And if they answered never, I would just thank them for their time and then look for someone else to talk to and ask questions. If they said something else like once a week, every day, 2 to 3 times a week, and so on, then I'll ask them like, where do you read the news online? And if they didn't say their phone, like they said they didn't read the news on their phone, then I wouldn't proceed with them. So it was just like a 2 question screen and nothing too lengthy because again, you're trying to talk to an audience that is like as general as possible about a topic that is not too sensitive. And so then if they answer that, oh, they read on their phone and they read the news at least like once a day or like once a week, then I would then like do my intro like I'm Lade and I'm working on a project. I want to understand how people experience like news websites. Would you mind spending a few minutes to look at some things on the websites and give me some feedback? And so there I had in my notes as well like the specific task that I wanted to have them test, right? In that project, if I remember, there were like 5 tasks, like search for a story about a topic that is of interest to you. So that was like me testing out how easy it was to search for news stories, right, on the website. And there was also a task like select a news story and visit a related link associated with that story and like post a comment on a news story or find stories in a particular category like politics or sports, which are categories that you find on basically every news website. And the goal there was to measure task success rates, like how people were able to, if people were able to actually like successfully complete the task. And then there was also like just rating the participants' self-rating experience of the website, like the appearance, their overall experience, how easy it was to read the text on the website, and how easy it was to get the right information on the website. So I planned all of this out. I wrote all of it down before I went to the streets, quote unquote, to do the research. And my location was a mall. And a university campus, because there you find lots of people, right? And yeah, just consider places where there's a lot of human traffic, where you can find like is don't do it like in the great outdoors, because it might be too hot or too cold and people don't want to stand for too long in those kinds of places. So you want to stay somewhere where people are willing to stop and talk to you. If you're using a device, you have to be sure that like where you're standing does not have like the sun reflecting everywhere. If you need internet connection, make sure that you have like stable Wi-Fi options. Just think about all those kinds of things where that might impact like the usability test or the interview or whatever you're doing, how it goes. Bye. A quick reminder that I am accepting questions for the podcast. If you have any questions that you'd like me to cover, any things that you'd like me to talk about, please fill the form. I'm going to put the question form in the show notes. So yeah, bye. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of A Couple of Things. If you enjoyed this episode or found any part of it insightful, don't forget to share with your friends on your social media, and be sure to leave a comment or a review if you can on your podcast listening app. Thank you.